In a previous video, I discussed Twilight's so-called real werewolves, the Children of the Moon, another supernatural entity which functions more like the werewolves we know and love from traditional media. However, when most Twihards hear the word werewolf, they think of the group more accurately known as the Shapeshifters, a band of men, and in Leah's case, one woman, who turn into wolves at will. As such, when I use the term werewolf in this video, I'll be referring to Jacob Black and his crew. If you want to learn more about the Children of the Moon, which are referenced only briefly in the books and are absent from the films, then you'll have to watch my video on Twilight's real werewolves. Twilight has garnered some controversy over the years for its depiction of Native Americans. I'm not going to unpack that in this video, as my channel focuses solely on lore, but misgivings aside, people continue to enjoy Twilight, and based on its fantasy, I personally enjoy its world building. The werewolves offer a counterpoint to the Cullens, and Jacob himself gives Bella a choice beyond Edward. Full disclosure, I am and have always been firmly Team Jacob, and I'm not ashamed. The imprinting debacle is a bit iffy, but again, that's another can of worms. The shapeshifters of the Twilight universe have their own abilities, traits, and genealogy, which sets them apart from the vampires, but which enable them to go toe-to-toe with the frigid bloodsuckers. While they have some commonalities, such as increased speed or improved senses, they are otherwise unique from their mortal enemies, especially when it comes to their genes. Before we continue, I'm Riley and this is Otherworldly Fiction. On this channel I rant about fantasy books, discuss characters and lore, share my bookish opinions, and offer the occasional writing advice. If any of that sounds like your cup of blood, hit that subscribe button. Posts are on Fridays. This video is not intended to be an accurate portrayal of Native American myths. Instead, I am simply laying out the lore as presented within Twilight's universe for those who'd like to explore the world building within Meyer's books. With that out of the way, let's continue. As stated earlier, Jacob and his crew aren't actual werewolves. Instead, the Children of the Moon are actually werewolves, in the literal sense, and that they lose their minds every full moon and transform into bipedal wolf-like monsters. The correct term for Jacob's kind is shapeshifter, though, having no knowledge of the Children of the Moon, they continue to use the word werewolf to describe themselves. Though they could have technically become any animal, it was a wolf which happened to be chosen for the first transformation. All known shapeshifters within Meyer's world are wolves belonging to the Quileute tribe, a real tribe which resides within the real town of La Push. Unlike the Children of the Moon, the shapeshifters can transform at any time. Moreover, they retain their minds, remaining themselves even while in human form. Furthermore, where the Children of the Moon move with a bipedal gait, the shapeshifters, running on 4 legs, simply resemble especially large wolves. Of course, while shapeshifters can mostly change at will, anger can cause them to phase. Their first transformations are also unintentional, as most are kept ignorant of the existence of werewolves until they themselves have joined the pack. The first phase, while inevitable, is usually triggered at last by a strong negative emotion, which can follow even on the heels of a previously good mood. Afterwards, new shapeshifters will have to develop control over time, much as newborn vampires do. In the early stages, they can be volatile, and there is a risk of injury if someone stands near them when they phase. However, with time, they can master their emotions and assure the transformations are entirely voluntary. Jacob was actually elated before his first transformation, happy to be spending time with the girl he liked until a minor irritation set him off. But all of the signs indicated his eventual turning was inevitable. Sam's transition was even more difficult, as the loss of control led to him scarring his partner, Emily, permanently. Since then, he has gained control, though some, like Paul, remain temperamental. To some extent, shapeshifters can lose themselves. They can savor the feeling of running, eat raw meat as normal wolves would do, and find escape from their human lives. When Jacob couldn't face his heartbreak over Bella, he lived as a wolf, hunting animals and clearing his mind, giving in to the mind of the animal in a way those like Leia struggled to do. However, choosing to think like a wolf and to not be repulsed by living as one or eating wild game is a voluntary process. A person who changes never completely loses themselves, as, unlike the children of the moon, they retain their memories, their ability to understand speech, their human emotions, and so on. Though able to live as wolves, they remain themselves. Most shapeshifters consider themselves protectors. It is their duty to protect humans, even those outside the tribe if they can, from vampires, or those they call the Cold Ones. It wasn't until the arrival of Carlisle's family that the wolves were offered an alternative to destroying their adversaries. The tribe could see that Carlisle, with his yellow eyes, differed from other vampires. Both sides ultimately formed a treaty between them. The Cullens could live nearby, provided they stayed off Quillet land. Moreover, the treaty would be considered null and void if they bit a human, not only to drink from them, but to change them. Plus, this protection would apply to not only the tribe, but all human residents of Forks as well. While all shapeshifters are Quilets, not all Quilets are shapeshifters. A minority of the tribe turn into wolves, acting as protectors while keeping the secret from all but other wolves are their partners. Even their children and parents are kept ignorant of their powers, unless they also phase. Unlike vampires, or the children of the moon, the ability to become a wolf is inherited. Not every single person with the gene will phase, though an increase in vampires will also make those with the gene more receptive. In the absence of vampires, even those with the strongest genes, such as those like Billy, will never phase. Phasing must also happen within a certain window, as evidenced by Billy's inability to do so even when the Cullens did finally appear. If there is a high concentration of vampires within the area, as happens when visitors arrive in Breaking Dawn, even those with weaker genes will turn. Come Bella's time, the werewolves have higher numbers than ever, to the point where they split into 2 packs. Boasting an unprecedented number, it used to be typical for only an average of 3 wolves or so to protect the tribe. The wolf gene is inherited from the first shapeshifter, Taha Aki, and requires one condition to be activated: vampires. For someone with the gene to phase, he or she must be in their teens or early 20s, else they'll miss their window. Though the life of a wolf can be hard for anyone, it is especially difficult for teens, as they must balance patrols with sleeping properly and keeping up with school. Worse, they can't even tell their parents the truth, meaning they can get in trouble for sneaking out. With an influx of vampires, even those as young as 12 or 13 can end up phasing, though this isn't typical where the vampire population is minimal. The differences in a shapeshifter's biology begin at the chromosomal level. While an ordinary human has 23 pairs, a shapeshifter is born with 24. Previously, it was believed only males could actually have the gene activated, with women being capable of passing the gene on. But this assumption was discredited with the transformation of Leah Clearwater. As for the moment the gene is activated, the specific trigger is actually a vampire's scent. Before a person first becomes a wolf, There are several signs which will indicate a person will change. They will grow at a rapid rate, packing on muscle and height. Their body temperature will come to a boil, reaching the levels of a fever, and they will experience mood swings or extreme rage, which in itself, if you want my opinion, sounds like a good metaphor for puberty. Before phasing, a person will shake. The actual transformation will occur in seconds, especially if the person can't calm him or herself. A wolf's first phasing happens as the result of something negative, be it an argument or a tragedy. All that is needed is rage, and if all other conditions are met, the person will turn for the first time. Since the transformation is so fast, with phased wolves having 4 times the mass of humans, they appear to be exploding from themselves. Being a werewolf has its downsides though. When a person changes, his clothes don't change with him. Instead, they are torn to shreds, sneakers and all. The result, if someone phases too often, is an expensive clothing bill. Being a werewolf also comes with risks for loved ones. As noted earlier, Emily was injured when Sam phased beside her. But in extreme cases, accidental death can also occur. During the early stages, shapeshifters have to work through volatile transformations and unpredictable emotions. However, like newborn vampires, they will master themselves with time and be able to take advantage of their powers. Older wolves learn to be practical, tying their clothes to their legs if necessary. In appearance, the shapeshifters resemble wolves, though their size is closer to that of horses, and those humans who happen to spot them often mistake them for bears. As for a werewolf's abilities, they enjoy some benefits even while in their human form, such as better hearing, faster running speed, and the ability to lift heavy objects with ease. While phased, they can even stand up to vampires, though such a fight requires training and a coordinated effort between a team. As with vampires, some wolves will be faster than others, and there's variety in their appearance. Their coats can be varying shades of gray, brown, or black. While one wolf might have russet fur or a sandy pelt, others still might be silver or chocolate colored. Though their fur color doesn't reflect the color of their human hair, it does reflect its length. If a shapeshifter doesn't make a point of visiting the barber to trim his human hair, his coat will become shaggier. Thus, many crop their hair short. Other abilities include better eyesight. While phased, their sight is 10 times greater than that of humans. But while humans themselves, they can still see things ordinary people can't. Vampires, for example, are described as looking shiny and angular to them, as well as looking like moving crystals. After their sight, a wolf also has an improved smell. Vampires, which smell good to normal humans, smell unpleasant to wolves. Giving off a sickly sweet perfume, the scent of a vampire can cause a werewolf literal pain, as a wolf will experience a burning sensation on contact with the smell. If necessary, though, wolves can still differentiate one vampire scent from another vampire's. Then there is a wolf's speed. A vampire can run 100 miles per hour, but a wolf can outrun them. One of the most notable abilities shapeshifters have is their telepathy, which comes with pros and cons. Mostly, their telepathy helps them, enabling a pack to communicate with each other using words while they fight. Opponents can't hear their thoughts, and they can work together. However, this also means a lack of privacy. A wolf's personal life, every embarrassment or heartbreak, is broadcast for the other wolves while the pack is phased. A side effect which is not only mortifying for the individual, but awkward for those who have to listen in. much of the tension between Leah and her packmates arose as a result of them being privy to her stream of negative thoughts. Emotions are also shared, so that other members must experience an individual's pain. In the rare event that two packs form, a wolf from one pack can't communicate telepathically with a wolf from another, with one exception. Two alpha wolves can communicate telepathically, but there's a caveat. These communications, unlike those shared between typical pack members, function much more as a conversation. Therefore, an alpha will only share with another alpha what he wants to share. Sam and Jacob are the first example of this occurrence, both functioning as alphas over their respective packs. Those below them can transfer to another pack, but an alpha can't abdicate, so to speak, from his role. Once someone becomes an alpha, they must remain one. If telepathy and super strength weren't enough, shapeshifters have rapid healing abilities, which apply even while they're human. If a werewolf cuts himself, the cut will resemble a week-old wound before the blood has even been cleaned. Broken bones will require more time, though they'll still take days rather than months to heal. The only disadvantage is that bones can set wrong, necessitating they be rebroken to be treated. Finally, the shapeshifters have their own brand of immortality. Though they remain human, warm-blooded and hearts beating, their aging will halt for as long as they continue to phase. Technically, a werewolf could live forever, but as their immortality doesn't extend to their partners, most choose to give up their forms with time and resume aging. After first phasing, wolves will physically age into the approximation of 25, even if mentally they're only 16. After reaching this point, they will then remain perpetually in this state until they stop transforming for long periods. Jacob, if the imprinting plotline continues, will be the exception to this rule. In all likelihood, he will continue to phase, because that which he wishes to protect is as permanent as he is. With Renesmee being immortal, once her own aging stops, Jacob too will likely remain immortal. Shapeshifters also have weaknesses. They can still be killed as any human, though it would take a powerful immortal to do so. Their kryptonite is vampire venom. While the venom will turn a normal human, it's nothing but poison to a shapeshifter. The venom won't kill a werewolf, but in the heat of battle, it will cancel out their essential healing abilities. The tribe's council, along with its elders, will work with the wolves, being privy to the secret. However, they aren't themselves considered pack members, and Sam remains the ultimate authority when it comes to the governance of his pack, consulting with the elders as needed. In order to become an alpha wolf, a shifter must be the eldest descendant of the previous alpha. Though the shift skipped Billy, Jacob was still technically the oldest direct descendant of the last person in his family who did hold the title, while Sam was second after him. Sam assumed the role of leader because Jacob hadn't yet phased. Though the role was offered to Jacob later, he was still allowed to turn it down, though not indefinitely. In cases where an alpha is chosen from next in line, or from the oldest member of the pack, acceptance must come from the pack itself. While Jacob could seize the role of alpha, Sam had to take it with the agreement of his pack behind him. Once chosen as alpha, no one could dispute Sam, except for Jacob, who would always have a greater claim. Others can't splinter away and become alphas themselves. Instead, if a wolf doesn't like their current leadership, they can shift to another pack, connecting telepathically with their new leader and pack members, while foregoing telepathic connections or roles with the original pack. A standard pack has 3 members, But the arrival of the Cullens caused the phasing of no less than 7 wolves. The arrival of the Cullens' guests and the Volturi, while temporary, exacerbated this effect even more, so that between the packs led by Sam and Jacob, there were 17 wolves in total. Within a pack, there is a hierarchy. Every alpha has a second and a third who are there to take charge should something happen to the alpha. The third follows after the second, should the second also fall. When numbers permit it, the second and third also have their own second and third who stand by to fulfill their roles, if needed. During fights, wolves coordinate in groups of 3. The strangest and possibly most misunderstood aspect of the Shapeshifters is their imprinting. Although conflated with true love or romance, the bond is deeper than that. In fact, it doesn't have to be a romantic one, though with time it usually becomes such. The phenomenon of imprinting is supposed to be rare, but the frequency with which it occurs in Sam's pack suggests it is more common than they believed. Moreover, imprinting has its dark side. An intense experience, which causes the wolf to care about the imprintee above even the needs of the pack, the wolf has no control over it. Sam was previously in love with Leah, but imprinting on Emily overrode these feelings, whether Sam wanted it to or not. Unable to shake his sudden need to be everything to Emily, he broke Leah's heart. It's my guess that Leah wasn't the first to be jilted in this manner, and she probably won't be the last. Another aspect of imprinting which is strange is that for the potential age gap. A werewolf can imprint on a newborn baby if he sees her, though this shouldn't be equated with lust. Within the books, it is stated that a wolf will be, for the one he is imprinted on, whatever she needs him to be. While he can become her lover, a werewolf can also act as a protector or brother to the object of his affection. While an eventual romance is implied, future installments of the saga could choose to focus on the intense but platonic elements of the relationship. According to what we know, Jacob will be whatever Renesmee needs. If she needs only a friend or a brother figure, Jacob could presumably become that instead, though he'd be unable to form an attachment to other women. The books make it clear that, once someone imprints on another, they won't be capable of desiring anyone else. Otherwise, Sam might have remained with Leah. There are 2 reasons a person may imprint. One is that the person being imprinted on has a better chance of passing the wolf gene on, while the second is that the person chosen may be capable of creating stronger wolves should they give birth. However, these are just theories, though the fact that the person is always of the opposite sex indicates the ability to breed is a variable. Furthermore, it is forbidden for a werewolf to kill another a werewolf has imprinted on. This is because the grief the wolf would feel on losing the one they have imprinted on would be unreal, as well as shared by all the pack. In most cases, the killer is himself killed. Of course, this rule, which supersedes all others, enabled the wolves and the Cullens to reconcile following Renesmee's birth. As for the origins of the Shapeshifters, their abilities can be traced back to their ancestors. Before they could become wolves, the tribe used astral projection to travel from their bodies. Leaving behind their physical forms, they could then travel as spirits to fight off their enemies. When one chief left his body unattended, a jealous tribe member, also in spirit form, stole the chief's body for his own. Pretending to be the chief, he took multiple wives and attempted to use the tribe for his own ends. Unable to claim his body, but desperate to prevent the destruction of the tribe, the true chief took the only body available to him, a wolf. Though the fake chief had banned spirit travel so as to prevent discovery of his treachery, he didn't count on the true chief appearing as a wolf. When the animal couldn't contain the chief's human emotions, there was an explosion, and the chief stepped forward in a new human body. Able to resume his leadership, the chief's talents were forever tied to that of the wolf. His children inherited the ability, finding they could take on the form of wolves in addition to their own, and for generations this ability was passed on. Initially, vampires weren't needed to effect the change, but vampires eventually became a component when they remained the only threat to the lives of humans. It used to be that the whole tribe knew the truth, but over the last century, secrecy was adopted. Though all members of the tribe were told the stories, most, Jacob included, believed they were myths, treating the notion that the Cullens were vampires as a superstition. The treaty which was formed between wolves and vampires was created by Carlyle and Ephraim Black in the year of 1936. Though Carlyle could have killed the wolves, his respect for human life prompted him to negotiate with Ephraim. In addition to those rules imposed by the tribe, Carlyle added a third condition. Each party would keep the secret of the other. Tribal land includes not only La Push, but those lands belonging to the Makas and the Hos, as well as the old tribal borders along Highway 101. While vampires can't come on tribal land, werewolves also can't trespass on Cullen land. Forks, though, along with any towns which surround it, is considered neutral ground. Those major families which have the wolf gene are the Blacks, the Yulees, and the Clearwaters. Ephraim's generation was the last to phase, until the Cullens' return in 2003 prompted Jacob, as well as dozens of others, to phase once more. In conclusion, with the wolves being more numerous than ever, it remains to be seen if they'll return to play a major role in any sequels. While it's implied that imprinting leads to romance, owing to the need to pass on the wolf genes, the text does stipulate that a wolf will be whatever the imprinting needs, even if that's just a friend or a brother. Personally, I could see Renesmee choosing someone else. At the same time, awkward as the relationship would be, I'm curious what the offspring of a werewolf and a vampire hybrid would be like. Taking on some vampire traits, such as toughened skin, a flexible diet, and psychic talents, any child of Renesmee and Jacob would be stronger than any wolf which has come before. If you're interested in hearing my speculation on the topic, I have older videos addressing the questions Twilight has left unanswered, including that of shifter vampire hybrids. Whatever the future holds, the Shapeshifters are a fascinating addition to the Twilight canon, featuring traits, powers, weaknesses, and histories of their own. The Werewolves of Forks are occasionally more interesting than their vampire counterparts. At any rate, I'm firmly Team Jacob, and I'd love to see more of the Shifters. If Renesmee were to fall in love with a shifter from a previously undiscovered group, such as someone who could transform into a tiger instead, I'd happily read that. What if Renesmee were imprinted on by this other shifter, giving Jacob a rival? Such a twist would circumvent the awkwardness of Jacob's attachment, while still offering exploration of what happens when vampire genes mix with those of a shifter. Alas, all we have for now is fanfiction, but a girl can dream. The original saga remains for us to obsess over, along with its extensive lore, and the Shifters remain a unique take on the traditional werewolf. Would you rather be a vampire or a shapeshifter? What would you like to see happen between Renesmee and Jacob? Are there still questions you have about the Shapeshifters? Sound off in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and happy reading.